Lynn Glickman, the superintendent here in School District 46. By my side is Mr. Chris Wildman. He is our assistant superintendent for finance. And together, today we're going to be sharing information about the potential of a funding proposal on a 2024 ballot. Our school board has important decisions to make, and so we're sharing this information with you today so that you can give informed feedback to our Board of Education that will assist them in making some important decisions about whether or not to put a question on a ballot, and if so, what the content of that kind of question might be. Here's our agenda. We're going to be talking with you about the mission and vision of our school district, information about our background. We'll talk about the work we've done thus far on this topic. We'll be talking about our budget challenges, our needs, our capital facility needs and proposed solutions around those needs, our operating priorities, a financing plan, anticipated benefits, and if we were all together, we'd give you a chance for a Q&A. We're not all together. We're recording this for you, so we do want you to know that after you viewed this video, if you do have questions, you're invited to email me or Mr. Wildman at any time. We always begin presentations with our mission and our vision, and it's especially important for this presentation because everything we are talking about as a school district and all of the reasons leading to the possibility of a funding proposal are linked to our mission and our vision. The mission of School District 46 is empowering learners, creating equity, cultivating community. You'll hear a lot about empowering learners and the potential of a funding proposal that can help do that. Also will help create equity in our community and cultivating community. Our vision is CCSD 46 provides opportunities that expand learning beyond our walls so that all learners grow locally, connect globally, and excel universally. This too is critically important and underlays all of the thinking around the potential of a funding proposal. I'm going to talk a little bit about the demographics of our school district. We have just about 3,700 students, and you can see here that we've listed for you our average class sizes. Of course, we don't have 200 students in one class. That's the pre-K. That's 200 total pre-K students divided into quite a few different classes. But below that, you can see class sizes that range from 17 in a classroom to 25 in a classroom. That changes every single year based on how many students are enrolled in a particular grade level, how many teachers we have assigned, but we wanted you to see that snapshot right now. We have 565 staff members. Of those 565 staff members, the largest numbers are teaching staff, 343, which of course is what you want. You want the bulk of the staff members in a school district to be teachers. We have 20 administrative staff members, which is a pretty low number for the size of our school district, 202 support staff members. That number includes our custodial operations maintenance staff, our program assistants, our clerical staff, our tech staff, making this presentation possible for you right now. And I do want to mention that our program assistants are also considered educational staff for students because those are the folks that are supporting students who are entitled to IEPs. They might be working in our multilingual classrooms. They may be supporting kindergartners. They may be working in small groups with, of students who need reading support. So a wide variety of staff members who are supporting students. 65% of our faculty holds a master's degree or higher. And then let's look at our number of schools. We've listed for you 8 schools. People are often confused about that because they think of us as having 7. But if you look at the bottom of that list, we have one early childhood center. It's housed over at Prairie View School, but it is considered to be its own school. So we have 4 K-4 elementary schools, 2 upper grade schools, 1 5, 6, 1, 7, 8, and 1 K-8 campus, that's Park Campus, and we'll be talking about them quite a bit in a moment. Here are all those schools again. You can see our early childhood center, our elementary schools, our Avon, Prairie View, Woodview, and Meadowview. Our intermediate school, our 5-6 school, is Frederick, so all of those 4 elementary schools end up at Frederick. Then all of those students move on to Grays Lake Middle School, and then again we have our standalone K-8 school at Park Campus. And I also want to note that one of the things that we've heard from our community over and over again is how important it is to them to have what we call neighborhood schools. So Avon, Meadowview, Prairie View, and Woodview are considered neighborhood schools. They draw from their neighborhoods that are right around them. Many of our students are able to walk to school. Once you get to the middle school or GMS, those are no longer considered neighborhood schools. They rarely are. And then Park Campus out in Madrona Village is a K-8 neighborhood school. Here's our district boundaries. We have students coming from 7 Lake County communities: Grays Lake, Haynesville, Lake Villa, Round Lake Beach, Round Lake Park, and Third Lake. And in many cases, we just touch parts of those communities. So as you can see on this map, we are very, very widespread throughout Lake County. We're also really excited to talk about our points of pride. And this list is just a short list of the many things that we are proud of in our school district. All of the schools have been identified by Illinois State Board of Education as being exemplary or commendable. That's a state designation. We've made strategic investments in technology that includes a very robust infrastructure. It includes our BenQ boards, which are interactive whiteboards that are available in all classrooms for all students and staff to really engage students and enhance instruction. We have one-to-one devices. All of our students have access to a Chromebook. And I do want to note that prior to the pandemic, we had already made that investment in grades 3 through 8. All of our 3rd through 8th graders had Chromebooks. When the pandemic hit, we had to very quickly find the funds, and actually we had to use some of the funds that we got from the government, ESSER funds, for that, so that we would be able to get Chromebooks to our K-2 students. Otherwise, they would not have had access to their teachers during all of that time at home. We're committed to providing instructional coaches and specialists in all of our schools. This means that we have coaches that are available to help enhance the teaching of our instructors, and specialists to work with our students. That includes reading specialists, some math specialists, behavior specialists, a wide range of people that are available to help our students with their specialized needs. We also have full-day kindergarten in our school district. Now, this past summer, that became mandated across the state. In the year 2027, all school districts in the state of Illinois must have full-day K. That's how important it is. We've had it for quite a few years, long before that mandate, and many of the people watching may have had their own children in full-day kindergarten, and so you know how impactful it is. And then we have many student and district awards. We're not going to spend a lot of time here on that, but you can see in these photographs, we've got students accepting awards. We have our award-winning GMS band playing in one of the photos, and then of course we have students graduating. We've done our homework. This is a list of the many opportunities that we have put forth for community to give feedback, and also many reports that have been done over the past few years that have brought us to this moment. I'm going to walk through those through this timeline. All right, this is a lengthy timeline. We're not going to work our way through the entire thing. What I want to point out is some key points. If you look at the top, you will see that in 2004, that was the last time there was a successful referendum in our school district. And in 2004, 19 years ago, the community voted and said, yes, it is important to provide additional funds so that the school district can build a new school. That built us Park Campus. We'll be talking more about that in a bit. In 2004 and 2005, we also had what are called operating fund campaigns, operating rate measures. Those did not pass. And I want to just pause to talk about the difference between capital needs and operating needs, because we'll be talking about that a little bit later as well. Capital needs are about the buildings, right? It can be about creating new things. It can be about taking care of the buildings that we already have. That's what capital needs are. Operating needs, and an operating rate measure, is about the daily work of the school district, what it takes to keep the lights on and to keep everybody paid. So we're going to be talking about those items in a bit. If you look way at the top on the right, you're going to see that the Board of Education has a decision to make. If the board decides to move forward with a measure, with a limiting rate proposal, which we'll be talking about, in the year 2024, they can either do that on the upcoming March ballot, and if so, they'll need to make a decision in December. They'll need to vote on that in December to put it on a March ballot, or the board could decide to wait until the following November, the presidential election, and then they wouldn't be actually passing what's called a resolution until August. Okay, let's talk about what's in between. Back in 2021, a new strategic plan was adopted. That plan was created by a wide variety of stakeholders. People from every possible area of our school district gave input on what the future of District 46 looks like. And out of that plan came all of our strategic goals and our mission, vision, and values. The conversation that we are currently having with our community about the needs of our district are directly tied to the goals of that plan. Also in 2021, there was what's called a facilities assessment. Wold Architects, our architect of record, came out and took a very deep look at the needs of our school district. Through that, they built a 10-year needs plan. They identified what we need to do in our school district for 10 years in order to keep our buildings safe and healthy for students and staff, and to protect the investment of all of our taxpayers. The school board adopted a 3-year capital plan. So they didn't adopt a 10-year plan, they adopted a 3-year plan because, frankly, and we'll be talking about the financial side in a moment, the school district could only afford to fund the first 3 years of that plan. Years 4 through 10 remain unfunded. Then we brought someone in to do a demographic and enrollment study to identify what enrollment looks like in the years to come. The basis of that information that came out of that is relatively stable enrollment in the future. February through, let's say, June of 2023 were incredibly busy times for our school district, as we were very carefully assessing our school buildings and the outsides of our buildings as well, talking about how all of those spaces can be used. Our architects of record, Wold Architects, came out and did a couple of reports for us. They did what's called a capacity and utilization report and an educational adequacy facilities report. So that first report talks about how our buildings are currently used and how much space we have. The adequacy report, the second report, is looking forward in terms of what our buildings could do for us. Those reports were communicated to our community through a district-wide meeting. It was a recorded meeting, and anybody was able to participate and do what we call a thought exchange survey to give feedback to our Board of Education and also to ask questions. Out of that, we had 2 more meetings, facility meetings, where people who wanted to come together, again, these were open meetings, so anybody who wanted to could come, talk about the needs of our facilities based on the reports of those architects, and consider what might be possible, make some recommendations. All of that went to a task force who narrowed down the recommendations, because the truth is, we certainly cannot do everything that we would love to be able to do with our buildings. It's simply not possible. All of that led to recommendations that came to me, which I then presented to the Board of Education. That brings us to now, where we are communicating with our community, including quite a few meetings and this recording right now, sharing information with our community. And then we're doing public opinion research. We're asking for information back from the community, asking, what do you think we should do? So that's where we are currently. And now I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Chris Wildman, who will talk with us about our budget challenges.
Thank you. I'm going to tell us a little bit about our financial position and our budget challenges that we face today. CCSD 46 is 65% adequately funded. This is a statistic that we receive annually from the Illinois State Board of Education. This number is actually $17 million on a dollar amount, which means that we do not receive the adequate level of funding that the Illinois State Board of Education believes that we need to provide for our community. In comparison with several districts that we compare ourselves to in all different levels of metrics, Libertyville 70 and Fremont 79, you can see that they are adequately funded. We do not have a $17 million annual deficit, but we do have a $2.7 million deficit for fiscal year 2024. This is because we do not receive enough evidence-based funding from the state. We are dealing with rapid inflation. The tax cap, the property tax extension limitation law, only allows us to levy to the maximum of 5%, and the last 2 years of 7% and 6.5% are the actual inflationary amounts. We are committed to fill full-time vacancies with credentialed teachers, attract, train, and retain quality teachers, and we are dealing with global competition, growing global competition for teachers, both on a state and county level. And we have unfunded mandates, which are things that we have to do as a school district, but do not come with additional funding. Reliance on a fund balance is not sustainable. As you can see, the $2.7 million deficit is the difference between fiscal year 2023 and 2024. The fund balance is the district's savings account. As you can see in 2027 in the red block, we actually go below our board policy minimum of 25%. It's around $15 million, and that is when the district has less than that 25% of our fund balance minimum.
Our Citizens Task Force realized that addressing all of the needs of the school district truly was not realistic. And so they identified a broad range of potential projects, but then narrowed it down to address the issues that were most crucial and really met the school district's mission and strategic plan as screens. The proposal focuses on our highest priority needs, and the reason for that is that we have significant financial difficulty in our school district, and the task force, the Citizens Task Force, realized that they could not go out to the community and ask for the large amount of funds that would be needed to address everything. They realized that limiting the request to $6 million annually and waiting for debt to be paid off allows for a net tax rate decrease. We'll be talking about that $6 million again in a bit, but I want to pause simply to say that 50% of that would go to capital needs and 50% would go to operating needs. So let's talk about those facility needs. So these are the needs, the capital facility needs are the highest priority needs that have to be taken care of in order for our buildings to be safe and healthy for students and staff for many years to come, and frankly to protect the investment of our taxpayers. It's our roofing, our mechanical and electrical needs, our plumbing, ADA accessibility, HVAC, the exterior envelope of the schools, of the buildings, that's the outside parts of the buildings, our paving and sidewalks, energy inefficiencies, and all kinds of interior maintenance. Also included in capital facility needs are two projects that came out of the educational adequacy study. These were the two projects that rose to the top when the task force talked about the needs of the buildings outside of those highest priority maintenance needs. It's dealing with outdated libraries and media centers. That's a picture of the Frederick Library right now, kind of a bird's eye view, and poorly configured student support service spaces, and we'll talk about those in a moment too. So remember, I shared with you a moment ago that this is 50% of the funds that would potentially be collected. And of that 50% of the funds, 78% of it would go to the maintenance and infrastructure needs. The other 22% of that 50%, yep, it's a little math problem here, would be going towards updating our library and media centers, which are used by all students, and reconfiguring and renovating student support spaces. Let's take a look at what that could look like. These are examples of updated libraries and media centers. They are clearly not our library and media centers because many of our library and media centers are very, very old. These are examples of what they could look like to meet the needs of how students learn today. Many of us may remember the days where we went to our library and went to the shelves and pulled out Encyclopedia Britannica or the World Book and did some research. Absolutely, our students still do research, and our students are still going to the library and media centers for books. But there's so much more that happens in those library and media centers. Yes, they're doing research, but they're also creating content. And that work requires space for collaboration. And if you look at these photos, you can see all kinds of flexible furniture and wide open space where students can collaborate with each other to create. Also, during all of this research time, when we had our architects giving us reports, we also had a staff group meeting to talk about the instructional needs of our school district. And one of the topics that kept rising to the top was STEM learning. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And although we are absolutely providing students with STEM instruction in our classrooms, we want to be able to expand STEM learning, and updating our library and media centers would provide us with additional space for that STEM learning. Student support spaces. So these are examples of what they could look like, not what they do look like in our school district. Student support services are things like special education, speech, physical, and occupational therapy, support for our multilingual learners, emotional and behavioral counseling. And although we provide all of those services in our school district, and we're really proud of how we provide those services, the spaces are not correct for the services that we provide. Very often, we will have more than one program in a classroom. Perhaps that classroom is divided by little temporary walls or furniture, perhaps. Different programs going on at the same time, very distracting. We might have small groups of students out in our hallways or pods meeting with instructors to get their needs met. Not a great way to instruct students who might like privacy and certainly don't want to be distracted while they're trying to learn. So this is another one of the priorities that has come through all of our research. Every school in our school district would benefit if the school board decides to move forward with a funding proposal and if these become the priorities. So you can see in this chart, here are all the maintenance and infrastructure needs, and you can kind of see which schools need what and how we would be funding them. And down at the bottom, you can see that every school would have library media center upgrades, and every school would have student support service spaces that would be reconfigured and improved. I told you earlier that only half of the funds would go to our capital needs. The other half would go to our operating priorities. Those priorities are attracting, retaining, and training quality teachers, protecting our current programming, and maintaining class sizes. If you think back to earlier in this presentation when Mr. Wildman was talking about the gap that we are told that we have by the state of Illinois, how much funding we should have versus how much funding we actually do have, we cannot maintain our programs without doing something to fill that gap. And that, for that reason, half of the funds that could potentially be collected by our school district would go towards teachers, programming, and maintaining class size. Now I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Wildman to talk about a financing plan.
So we've heard a lot about our financial position and all the work that the school district has done, and I'm going to talk to you about a fantastic opportunity that we have. We have debt that is to be retired soon. CCSD is currently paying principal and interest on outstanding referendum bonds. Those bonds were sold to build Park Campus. It was mentioned earlier in the presentation. The last payment is in November of 2025. In levy year 2025, the debt service, the principal and interest, that portion of the levy will drop by $6.8 million approximately. The estimated tax rate drop is 86 cents per $100 of equalized assessed value. Our limiting rate that we've discussed earlier could address both the capital facility and the operating needs. A 76-cent limiting rate increase would provide the $6 million annually that we've just discussed. The plan calls for, again, half of the proceeds to address the capital facility needs, and the other half would address our operating needs. So the proposed use of these proceeds: addressing maintenance infrastructure needs, updating libraries and media centers, reconfiguring, renovating student support spaces, attracting, retaining, and training quality teachers, protecting current programming, and maintaining our current class sizes. The proposal allows for a net tax decrease. The estimated net tax decrease of a home with a fair market value of $300,000 is $90.45 annually. Again, 86 cents is what it will be reduced from the debt service portion, which will be paid off in November of 2025. The 76-cent increase is the $6 million, which we've already discussed, which will be spent equally of $3 million on operating and $3 million on facility needs.
And we'll end with our anticipated benefits, most of which you've already heard. This kind of a plan reduces costly and disruptive emergency repairs. It extends the useful life of existing facilities. We would be able to create healthier learning environments, enhances the ADA accessibility for students, staff, and families, improves building efficiency, and reduces operating costs. We've talked about the update of our library and media centers, the reconfiguration of our student support spaces, the importance of maintaining current programming and class sizes. We are looking to strengthen our ability to attract, retain, and train quality teachers. All of this protects our high-performing schools and property values because, as we know, without high-performing schools, we don't have high property values. And all of this can be done while still allowing for a net tax rate decrease. That brings us to the end of this presentation. We invite you to please email me with any questions that you might have. Also on this screen is our QR code and web address that you can go to that has all kinds of information. Most of what we presented today, reports for you to look at, a Q&A. There is a video for you to see where you can kind of get a peek inside our schools, what they currently look like, and what are some benefits of this entire potential funding proposal. Thanks so much for watching.